composition remains one of the things that you guys keep asking me about, so therefore I thought I'd make another video about it, but from a slightly different angle. Instead of just talking about the rule of thirds and symmetry and all that jazz, I thought it might be more beneficial to talk you through my entire process from planning to editing. What I'm looking for, what I'm thinking about, and how I hopefully end up with an image that I'm happy with. And without giving the ending away, one of the photographs we capture in this video, it might be the best photograph that I've ever taken. Since I got back from my little photography trip, I've shown some of the photographs that I got at the weekend to some of my friends and my family. And one of them actually said to me, "Wow, how lucky was that?" And I know what they meant. In their opinion, I was lucky that everything came together exactly at the right moment. But without saying anything, I just smiled and I said thanks. But hopefully as we go through this video, you'll find out that I try to remove as much of the luck as possible. I think it was Gary Player that once said, "The more I practice, the luckier I get." And I think that's a quote that's really worth thinking about. If you're trying to create your best work, then yeah, sometimes you can absolutely luck yourself into a great photograph. But it's far more productive and even more rewarding when you plan it and you remove as many of the variables as possible. And how we do that starts with step one. Now in this video, we're not going to be diving into things like foregrounds, leading lines, symmetry, and all the other compositional techniques. This is going to be a far more hands-on approach. However, if you do want to learn more about composition, I've got plenty of videos on the channel that cover that, and I've even written an ebook on the subject, so if you're interested in any of that, then I'll leave links in the description. But for me, composition doesn't start when I arrive at the location. It starts much earlier than that, and it starts with the plan. So I was off work for a week, and I had a bit more time in my hands than usual, and I decided that it was road trip time. I picked a location about 5 hours northeast of where I live, Rattray Head Lighthouse, and the reason I chose it wasn't just because of the lighthouse itself, it was because there were other photography opportunities nearby as well. But we will come back to that later. So once I knew where I was going, I needed to figure out when I was going. And if you live in the UK, you'll know that that's often the hardest part of the whole process. You can check the weather forecast at 6 o'clock, make all your plans, and then by 6:05, it's completely changed. Such is the joy of living in Scotland. In fact, I'd originally planned to leave on the Wednesday afternoon, stay overnight and then come home on the Thursday. But the forecast, as always, had completely changed. Rain, heavy cloud and pretty uninspiring conditions. Thankfully, because I was off work, I had some flexibility. So instead of forcing the trip, I waited. And eventually a weather window appeared on the Saturday evening into Sunday morning. So now I knew where I was going and I knew when I was going. But choosing an epic location is only part of the puzzle, because there's far more at play here. The two locations that I'd chosen to go to would look completely different depending on the time of day and the direction of the light. So with the sun that rises in the east and setting in the northwest at present, I wanted to be at the lighthouse during the evening and stay there until dark. Then I'd move on to the second location, ready for sunrise the following morning. And by the way, when I say I'm looking for good weather, I don't mean endless blue skies. Quite the opposite. I'm looking for cloud, drama and atmosphere. And one final thing before we set off, checklists. Because all the planning in the world isn't going to help you if you arrive at a location and realise you've forgotten a memory card, or you've left a battery on charge at home, or you've packed the wrong piece of kit. So before any trip, I run through a simple checklist to make sure everything is charged, packed and ready to go. It might sound boring, but it's another way of removing as much luck, specifically bad luck in this case, from the process as possible. Because once I'm on location, I want to be thinking about photography and not what I've forgotten. So after a quick fuel stop right at the start of the journey, I then went for 5 hours all the way to the lighthouse. And I don't mind telling you, the last couple of miles were certainly a little bit hairy, and I'm still amazed that the car has got an undercarriage left on it. So after stretching my legs for a little bit and grabbing the gear from the back of the car, I started making my way towards the beach. And then slowly, from behind the sand dunes, she finally emerged. And I don't think it's over the top to say that I was absolutely stunned at just how glorious this thing was. Not only that, but on a beach that was miles and miles long on a beautiful Saturday afternoon, I was the only person there. I genuinely couldn't believe my luck. And of course the temptation is to get the camera straight out of the bag and start taking photographs. And if you've watched any of my videos, you know that I caution against doing that. So I followed my own advice and spent a good few minutes just taking in the whole scene and enjoying it. Because after all the planning that had went into the trip, the long drive, the incessant checking of the weather, all of that was now behind me. And right in front of me was one of the most glorious subjects I've ever pointed a camera at. Now, one of the biggest mistakes photographers make is finding a composition that's quite good and then they stop. And trust me, I get it. You finally arrive at your location, you find something that works, you take the photograph, and you're already thinking about what comes next. But I knew I was going to be here for a while, so there was no rush. I started with some fairly obvious compositions, but then I began doing what I always encourage other photographers to do, and that's move. A few steps left or right, a little bit lower or higher, change your focal length, or maybe even try a different foreground. And what I quickly discovered was that every little change completely altered the photograph. Some compositions were simple and clean, some worked better with a foreground interest, some looked great in colour, and others immediately struck me as black and white images. And that's really the point I'm trying to make here. The first composition you find isn't always the best one. In fact, more often than not, it's just the jumping off point. With the subject this good, I wanted to make absolutely sure that I took home as many options as possible. Maybe it's just my old eyes that are starting to fail, but the small LCD on the back of the camera isn't always the best and most reliable way to judge the quality of your image. And if you do think you've got that show-stopping photograph, then take it another couple of times, just to make sure. So I got settled in and I had planned to stay for a while. And in fact, I ended up staying on that beach for 7 hours. And I know not everybody, including myself most of the time, has that amount of time to spend every time they go out with a camera. But I'd committed to a road trip. I had over 30 hours to do what I wanted, and staying on that beach until it was dark was always going to be part of the plan. And to be honest, I was having the absolute time of my life. The weather was beautiful, the scenery was just incredible, and even the wildlife was starting to put on a bit of a show. So I stayed, and as the day went from afternoon sunshine to twilight and eventually darkness, I just kept on shooting. I kept checking my compositions, I kept moving about looking for different types of shot. I kept taking the same photograph again, but now it's in different lighting conditions. I did it at different angles, and these are all of the things that I would have missed had I been happy with the initial bunch of photographs and had said, job done. But some of my favourite photographs from the day came towards the end of the shoot, not within the first 15 minutes of me leaving the car when I arrived. And patience is so important in photography. With busy lives, I fear it's becoming less of a common skill amongst photographers. So remember, patience is a virtue. Okay, now I can almost hear some of you saying, David, 7 hours is overkill. How on earth do you spend that amount of time at one location? Well, when you've got that much time available, you can start to experiment. You can try things that you might normally attempt when you're limited by the time that you have. So a lot of the images you're seeing now are long exposure photographs. And these are the ones that, quite frankly, I think are now my favourites. And if you've done any long exposure photography yourself, you'll know that getting the photograph you want often takes a bit of trial and error. Too short an exposure and the water still looks choppy. Too long an exposure and you can start losing detail elsewhere in the frame. Even calculating how long the exposure needs to be can take time, whether you use PhotoPills or ChatGPT. So I picked a composition. I kept it incredibly simple. I framed a lighthouse with the horizon on the bottom third. I stacked a 10 stop and a 6 stop ND filter on the front of the lens and settled on an 8-minute exposure. And that photograph I mentioned at the start of the video, the one that might be my favourite photograph of all time, well, let's have a look at it. And this shot alone made the entire trip worthwhile. Even though I was only viewing it on the back of the LCD, I had a sneaking suspicion that I'd got something special. And that, funnily enough, took a lot of pressure off me for the rest of the trip. And whilst this photograph was something I was really happy about, I did have another bonus up my sleeve in a different location. What I hadn't planned on was that bonus potentially being an even better photograph. At this point, it was now past midnight. It was as dark as it was going to get, although being one day before the summer solstice, there was still a little bit of colour left in the sky, and it was incredibly gorgeous. But instead of packing up the car, climbing into the tent box, or worse even going home, I decided to drive another hour and a half, because there was one more location I wanted to visit, a small village called Portnocky. Now if you've never heard of Portnocky, there's one incredibly special thing there that has been on my photography bucket list for years, and that's Bowfiddle Rock. I arrived about 2 o'clock in the morning and I stayed in the car until 3, making sure all my gear was ready to go. And I headed down the steep cliff path onto the rocky beach below and started setting up everything all over again. And this time it was blue hour. And as I started taking in the scene, I kid you not, standing right in the middle of the frame was a young deer. And you know that thing where you're trying not to move, trying not to make a sound, but at the same time you're trying desperately to get your camera out the bag? Well, that was me. Because see if I'd caught that photograph with Bowfiddle Rock, a deer and a sunrise, I definitely think it'd a shot of being on the front page of National Geographic. But as is usually the way with these things, by the time I stood up and got the camera to my eye, she was gone. Never mind, the consolation prize wasn't too shabby. I had about half an hour before sunrise, so again I spent that time taking some test shots, trying different angles and making sure I was ready if the light did what I hoped it was going to do. And at 4:10 in the morning, it did exactly that. The sun broke through a small gap in the horizon and started lighting up the underside of the clouds. And it was again one of those memorable moments and one of the best I've ever had with a camera. You could hear the birds nesting on the rock, they're flying overhead, the water was gently lapping at the shore, and the only other sound was my camera clicking away as I took photograph after photograph after photograph. Because that's another lesson worth remembering. When the light starts kicking off, just keep shooting, because 5 or 10 seconds can completely transform a sunrise photograph. And when you get home, you'll be glad again that you gave yourself plenty of options of which one to choose. I also tried a few different approaches while the light was kicking off. Different exposures, different shutter lengths. I was zoomed in, zoomed out, tried with foreground, without foreground, and finally, I settled on this photograph. I'm hoping by now that you've realised that yes, Mother Nature certainly dealt me some good fortune, but I did my very best to minimise that element of luck. I had done my research, I took my time, I experimented, and I went with a clear idea of what it was that I was trying to achieve. And I personally feel that I came home with more than I could ever have hoped for. I didn't go spend an hour and then give up. And continuing the sports theme, I think it was Wayne Gretzky that once said, "You will miss 100% of the shots that you don't take." So get out there, pick your location, plan your journey, and just keep shooting. And if you've enjoyed the video, guys, and you want to stay in touch in between videos, then why not subscribe to my newsletter where I send out weekly information about all things photography. It's fun, it's relaxed, and it's designed to help you become a better photographer. The link is in the description. Thanks for watching, guys, and as always, I will see you in the next one.